What would you say to artists that are just trying to get started right now?
You are capable of more than you think. We have access to so much now. Share your ideas. We're scared someone might steal it, or we're scared it won't be received well, whatever it is, but it's just share the idea.
What stopped you from starting earlier?
Music is what kept my dad away from the family, you know what I mean? So I was like, if I do music, I can't have a family. Trusting the process is like the biggest thing we have to do all the time.
It's kind of a foreign concept. You're telling me I have to put in all this work and just hope it works out?
Yo, it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
It does.
Welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. I'm your host, Mike Squires. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Briana Maia. Briana Maia is a Connecticut-based singer-songwriter, known for her incredible voice and her bright animated energy. Briana is creating her own space as an up-and-coming artist in the R&B scene. In 2020, she teamed up with Grammy Nominated Producer Gourty Maxx to continue to carve out her sound. Behind the scenes, Briana is also a co-writer for the sensational dance duo Les Twins, having written on their debut single Stranger in Mirrors. If you don't know who Les Twins are, they've been Beyonce's backup dancers for over a decade now. I also talked to Briana about a co-sign she got from Kelly Rowland. If you want to support the Mike Squires and Friends podcast, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button or download on your preferred podcast platform. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists that trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and Instagram. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to its superiority among distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with their ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download today from the App Store or Google Play Store now to revolutionize your music career. You can visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to save 30% off your first year membership. Now with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. Briana, welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast.
I made it. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here, and I want to know what it was like growing up for Briana.
What it was like growing up. I had an incredible childhood. I'm not even gonna lie. It was really me, my mom, and my brother. Like, we were the trio. My dad was a singer, so he was always away working. But yeah, we were just like super tight-knit. We didn't have a lot, but we didn't realize that we didn't have a lot. You know what I mean? My mom did a really good job, and my family just did a really good job at making sure we could do everything, even if we didn't have everything.
Yeah.
So, it was lit.
They seem incredibly supportive of your music career. I saw you singing Unforgettable with your dad.
Yeah. It's so nice now to be able to sing with him because at first I was just really shy. Like, I didn't want to even do music because he was so good at it. I was like, let me just like let that be his thing and I'll find something for myself. But now it's special that we get to do that together.
Yeah. Would you say that you becoming an artist is derived from him?
100%. I think I'll say the gift came from him and it was always there. And I knew it was there, but I was scared of it. But now, I don't know. It came from my family. The Maias are like a huge musical family, so it's a legacy thing.
And I see your mom super supportive too, where, you know, you're showing her the music video early and she's so excited. So how does it feel just to have like a support system like that?
I think I got so used to being so supported that sometimes I take it for granted. But then I like sit back. I just did a play recently and my family, they came on a bus 5 hours to see me in the play, like a full bus. So, I mean, it's overwhelming, but so beautiful.
No, I was going to say it is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So at what point do you start really like diving into music?
I didn't really start diving into music until I was like, I don't even want to say that age because y'all gonna know my age. But it was like 25.
Okay.
It was like late in the game for me. Yeah, so it's been like the last like 6 years that I've been doing it.
And what was like one of the first things you did when you first initially dove into music?
Oh, the first thing that like made me do it, I was posting videos on YouTube. Really like silly covers, honestly. But then Kelly Rowland from Destiny's Child saw one of those videos.
I want to talk to you about that, yeah.
Oh, you know about that? You did your research.
Right, you know, like boom, boom, boom.
Come on. Oh, yeah, you ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she saw one of my videos, and once I was seen by her, I was like, oh, if someone like that sees me, maybe I should be doing this.
Shows you that it's possible.
Yeah.
So how was it like, you know, connecting with Kelly?
So I grew up obsessed with Destiny's Child, you know. That was my era. And Kelly was, you know, before I was obsessed with Beyonce, Kelly was my favorite. I don't know. I've never been like super close to a celebrity until then. And I was definitely starstruck. But she was so kind and so sweet. And for her to validate me, and I think she said specifically, she was like, she said she loves what I do because it doesn't feel like I'm doing it for like the glitz or the glamour. She said it feels very genuine. She's like, I can tell you love this.
Yeah.
And I was like, you see that from my silly little YouTube video? So it was cool.
So kind of on that same note, why does Briana Maia do this? What motivates you?
I just know that I'm supposed to. Like, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I think me fighting it for so long, you know, when you're running away from something and it continues to knock at your door, it's like, girl, you know you're supposed to do this. And my family, the Maias, like the legacy of Maya music. I think I'm the one of this generation who is supposed to carry it on, which is scary, but.
Yeah. So you said you started at 25 and, you know, you were running away from it. How long was it knocking before you got started? Like, when did that feeling occur where it's like, I need to do music? And, you know, we know when you acted on it, but when did you start like, I need to do this?
I mean, I knew it since like high school, honestly. So I went to the Academy of Performing Arts in Hartford, and I was supposed to go for singing, but I like chickened out of my singing audition, so went for theater, and then did theater through college, out of college. But music was always like there.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, but what stopped you from starting earlier?
Just fear. I mean,
it's a scary thing, so I totally get it.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think, again, I didn't want to be in my dad's shadow. He's really good. And I think, too, if we're getting super deep with it, music is what kept my dad away from the family. You know what I mean? So I was like, if I do music, I can't have a family. That's how it was in my head. So I had like a weird, like, I had some beef with music for a little while. But it found me and the way it was supposed to. And now I feel like very loved and cared for by music.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And with your dad, I see you performing with him, you know, is that something that's happening often? How is your music relationship with your dad? Yeah,
music continues to bring us closer together, which is so funny because I thought it was the thing that kept us apart.
And that's kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And now we sing together all the time. Like, we sing weddings together all the time. Like, that's a thing. And people love it when they find out like that. It's like a daddy and a daughter. They freak out. And I take it for granted because it's my life. But seeing people's reaction of it, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is special.
Yeah. Do you have a moment that you guys had together that really stood out that like you could think of and share right now?
Yes. I just recently thought of this too. I had my first Broadway callback outside.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was my senior year of college. And I was being called for my first callback, and I was terrified because it was a singing callback. And I was like, what? huh? I'm going to school for straight theater. He was really excited when he found out, and he took me to the callback. And we got there. He was like, all right, good luck. He stayed in the lobby. I went in the elevator, got upstairs. The elevator opened. I let it close and went back downstairs because I was terrified. And I went to him and I was crying, like so scared. And then he looked at me and he held me and he started crying too. And he was just like, you're meant to do this. Like, go do it. Don't be scared of it. I think that was the moment like we like knew like I was going to do this.
No, that's an amazing moment.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about fear though, because fear is something that holds a lot of people back. And I'm sure there are people that are listening to this that want to make that first leap, but it's scary because, especially in entertainment, you know, I feel like me personally, I'm out there, you know, I'm just in and out on the internet, right? You know, what is the thing that like, at what point did your want to do it become greater than the fear?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, honestly, 2020 was the year when I really got to share my ideas more. I don't know if you remember the Voisey app.
I do, and
remember?
I know. Well, so I know that we'll talk about it later, but I know you had a very successful song on there too.
Yeah, like, and I was just like, I was playing around again. I think those were the moments, like the Kelly Rowland thing, her seeing me on YouTube, playing around. Voisey, I was just kind of like sharing my gift, like freely without any judgment. And once I saw that people were receiving that, I was like, oh, people like this thing. I don't have to be scared of it. When I share the gift, even though it is scary, when I share it freely and without that, you know, overthinking, that's when it seems to shift in my life.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing to do what you just said because, I mean, I'm grateful that I'm at a point now where, like, I fear nothing, you know what I mean? Like, I feel unstoppable, but there was a point, you know, where the uncertainty is very scary in music. You know, you don't know when the next gig is, you don't know when the next opportunity is, but you just got to keep sailing and hope that you see, you know, something along.
Yeah, I feel like trusting the process is like the biggest thing we have to do all the time. Because like you said, it's like, yeah, like maybe these 2 months you have like, you're super booked and then it's like, wait, but like May and June, I don't know what I got going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the uncertainty.
Trusting the process is so important. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to talk a little bit about like trusting the process because it's kind of a foreign concept to people that are not, you know, in an entrepreneurial, career-based thing because you're telling me I have to put in all this work and just hope it works out?
Yo, it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
It does. But like, I mean, you're such a brave artist in my opinion. Like, I look up to you for that. And I think like that little thing inside of you that is telling you to keep going, we just got to hang on to that because people are going to always be like, girl.
And it's crazy too. And I want to ask you a question about Judgment, but like there's a certain part of you with all this where it's like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but you almost like have to like not care. Like, you know what I mean? You can't care about what people think, what you just got to, the vision that's in my head is the vision that I got to do. Mm-hmm. So what would you say about like, you know, maybe dealing with the fear of judgment?
Judgment's always going to be there. Even if your gift is really good and doing really well, there's always going to be somebody that might not like it.
Even the greats are judged.
Even the greats are judged. And I think you get judged more the higher you go. Yeah. So, I mean, I just hang on to the people that are rooting for me.
Yeah.
And see that oftentimes outweighs the people who are like, what is this?
And you don't want those people around you anyways.
Nah, please.
Yeah. I want to bring it back to the Voisey app because I know you had a slapper of a moment on there. 20 million plays I saw?
20 million plays on one of the songs.
That's crazy.
I was like, dang, I should be getting paid from this.
Could we talk about the whole process of that from like start to finish? So like, what is the song? When do you upload it? When does it start taking off? Why is it start taking off? A bunch of questions I'm throwing at you, but I want to know all of it.
So I did that one in 2020, like the summer of 2020. really quickly. Like I didn't, and of all the things, it was a pop song. One that, you know, I'm a super R&B girl. So I didn't expect that one to be anything. But it was received so well on the app, and a lot of people were singing on it and singing with it. It wasn't until a year later, though.
That's crazy.
That Voisey reached out to me, and they were partnering with Snapchat.
And can you explain what Voisey is, just for the people that are listening and may not know?
Yeah, of course. So Voisey was an app, a space where artists, songwriters, producers can come and create without any real... It was really easy. I think it was just, producers upload a beat, singers can go through beats, pick beats, sing to them, and like add little effects, auto-tune, reverb, simple stuff. But, you know, for artists who don't have studio access, it was...
Everything.
It was everything. Yeah, you could just like create and like share an idea really quick, like within 10 minutes. So yeah, a year later, Voisey reached out to me, and they were like, "We're partnering with Snapchat. We want to try to see how this song will do on the app." So it was just like on Snapchat for people to use in their Snapchat videos, and 20 million people. I got so many messages about that song.
That's crazy. Yeah, what is the moment where the song's blowing up?
I didn't even realize. Like, I really didn't. They told me it was there, and I was like, cool, I saw it was there.
Yeah.
And then they sent me something like a week later, like 10,000 plays. And I was like, oh, cool, that's fire.
That's great.
And then like a week later, it was like 20 million. And I was like, how? What? But a lot of people liked it. And they were like, where is it? Where can we listen to it? And I was like, it wasn't even a real song. It was just a 1 minute duty.
Would you ever consider like uploading it to other platforms and stuff?
I honestly want to. I need to reach out to the producer because it did so well. I'm like, why not?
It'd be great for both of you guys.
I think so too.
And it probably would translate. Well, that's another question. Did it translate to any cool opportunities? Or because it was on this app, it like kind of stayed there?
Yeah, it kind of stopped there.
But I think something like that also just validates that I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On a grander scale.
Yeah, Voisey validated me. So that specific song didn't present other opportunities, but I mean, Voisey introduced me to many of the artists I work with today, many of the artists I write for, Le Twins.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, so I mean, it opened so many doors.
How did you connect with Le Twins?
So Larry, one half of Le Twins, it's Larry and Lo. Larry sang on one of my Voiceys. He was on the app.
Oh,
pretty
amazing.
heavy. Yeah, he loved that app.
So that is an opportunity that came from, you know what I mean?
A big one, the biggest one. But he sang on one of the songs. I freaked out because I'm like, huh? What? Like, I've loved them forever. Again, Beyonce.
I was going to say, yeah, I wanted, for the people that aren't familiar, they're deeply connected with Beyonce.
Yeah, they've been dancing with her for over a decade. Yeah, I was like, I've been seeing y'all live forever.
I feel like you're getting like the Destiny Child Infinity Stones.
Listen, I'm always like 1 degree away from Beyonce. Like those are only 2 of the situations. It's kind of like, I'm destined to meet her. But yeah, so Larry reached out to me after he sang, like maybe 2 months later on Instagram. He found me on Instagram and was like, hey, I'm writing music with a label. I need a songwriter. Are you down to work?
That's amazing.
And I was like, yeah. I try to play it cool.
Oh, yeah. I do this.
Yeah, like I do this. But I'm like, this is my first big songwriting opportunity. So I was like crying on the floor.
That's amazing though, you know? And so I know you've worked with them at this point on a couple records.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the first one? Like what did that look like? You know what I mean? Are you getting emailed? Are you connecting? What's the process?
The process was chaotic. It was chaotic. So he reached out to me on Instagram. He asked me for my number. I gave it to him. Hadn't heard from him for like 3 weeks. And then he calls me one day. I don't know this French number coming in, so I ignored it. And he's
Spam.
like, yeah, I'm like, who would be calling me from France? And then he's like, hey, I called you. And I was like, oh. At this point, it's like 6 p.m. Eastern time.
So it's late there.
Yeah, so it's like middle of the night there. He's like, hey, I need a demo by tomorrow. Can you do it?
That's amazing.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, what time tomorrow? He's like, well, I'll be in the studio at 11 a.m. So that's what, like 6 a.m. our time. So I was like, I just stayed up all night, created a demo, and sent it. And he loved it. And we've been working together ever since.
That's amazing, too. And that's a good example of, like, you know, staying ready. Because that opportunity presented itself, and you were good to go. Because I know a lot of people that would get presented that opportunity that you did would crumble. They would not be able to pull that off because they would just overthink it and not get it done. So how were you feeling in that moment? Like, you just were absolutely just like, I need to get this done no matter what?
I need to get it done no matter what. And you know what? I had another deadline that night too for like one of my first big singles that came out. So I had to do both of them in that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we're in it now. We're like in the thick of it. This is what I wanted. This is what's happening. So I had to do it.
Yeah. So then you do that song, you cut that demo for them. How you feeling when the song comes out?
So the song didn't come out till like a year later.
That's classic.
Classic. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But it felt good. It was the first time I was attached to somebody, like people who are so massive. You know, there's just major celebrities. And again, being validated by people who are working with the greats is the best feeling. And this time it was public. You know what I mean? I can like announce it. It didn't have to be a thing that was like, oh, like this person said I was good, you know.
No, it's really, like showing people is a lot different than telling people.
Yeah. And I was like, this is the first time I can like say and like show people the work. That
was it hard to bite your tongue?
It was. Yeah, it was. I really wanted to share it because it was so cool to me. But, you know, had to keep it in the whispers.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to, you know, just because like also if you spill the beans too early, it could actually end up ruining the opportunity.
Yes, right. And I was like, this is too big and it's precious to me. So
yeah,
I'll keep my mouth shut for a little while.
Do you have any advice for other songwriters that are trying to get into a field of songwriting for others?
Yes, I would say just share your ideas. I think that is, no matter like how raw, I think if you are a songwriter, you always have ideas. They're always flowing. There are always melodies. There are always words. Just share the ideas. I think many writers, like it's really precious and we're scared to like put it out because we're scared someone might steal it or we're scared it won't be received well, whatever it is. But it's just share the idea. Even if it's you singing, like it doesn't have to be fully recorded. It can just be raw.
I think that's great advice, too, because I know that I'll be in studio sessions, too, and I'll bite my tongue. Sometimes I'll be like, no, they're not going to want to do this. You know what I mean? But at the same time, too, even if you share an idea and people shut it down, if you think it's a good idea, I think you should still run with it because it could be the thing that changes everything for you.
It could be the thing. And even if someone doesn't like the full idea, they might like a little piece of it, and that might make it somewhere.
Yeah, things evolve like crazy. You might say a certain word that triggers the whole vibe of the song.
Right. So that's my biggest advice. Just share your ideas.
Yeah. What's been a struggle as like an independent artist on the rise?
I think the biggest struggle is, and I think a lot of artists struggle with this, balancing investing into your artistry while also having to pay for your adult life.
Yeah, that's real.
And like making time for your artistry while also making time to make money. I am a full-time artist, which is, you know, some may call it crazy.
It's a blessing though at the same time.
It's a blessing. And I thank God for it every day. I'm like, man, I get to really do what I love and that's it. I'm blessed. But I don't even remember the question now, child.
Well, just like one of the struggles you've overcome in music.
Yeah. So I think just being able to be consistent. Like
Consistent's huge. That's the theme on every single podcast.
Is it?
Well, pretty much and even I'll say it too, because it's important because it is the thing, like being consistent, being persistent, you know, keep hammering at the nail until it hits. You got to.
Yeah, you have to. And I think I got in my own way because I'm like, I got really hyper-focused. Once I had some success, I got really hyper-focused on quality, which is beautiful. And I think valid, but not to the point of like, I'm not releasing anything. Like there's so much that we can do with our phones. There's so much that we can learn on YouTube. I realized I didn't need to be spending so much money to make things look as polished as they do. I can just get the idea out. Like I was saying before, just like release the idea.
I have a lot to say about that because, you know, I'm somebody, and this is something, what you said is something that even I'm working on too, because previously I'm very like, I don't know if type A is the right word or term, but like, you know, I'd hear a little think in the music. I'd be like, no, we can't put it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just like this, like, is that a little static there? And I'm still not 100% good, but I'm way better, especially with this 50 States project that I'm doing.
Oh my God.
Because it's so massive of a project, I have to like just let it go. You know what I mean? I just like getting it out in the universe and calling it done is way better than me sitting here and struggling just overthinking it, you know?
Yes.
What helped you not overthink and kind of move past, you know, I hate saying the word perfectionist, but that's kind of like what it is, the mentality where it's like you want it to be perfect.
This is honestly very new for me that I'm getting to this place. But I think recently, going into the new year, I was like, remember Voisey, when you would just put ideas out and you didn't care? And that's when everything started to happen. I was like, we can do that. And I think, honestly, working with Michael Minnelli recently.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because I know you guys just dropped a song together, too.
Yeah. And, like, just seeing his process and seeing, you know, he's so consistent. He releases so much content, so much music. He's always working. But he's gotten into a place that he just, like, because it has to happen, it has to happen. Easy, we wrote and did a video in like a week, and then we had it uploaded and ready for release.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I was like, it really could be this easy?
Yeah, I was like, you could just do that?
We could just do that, and it will be well received. So
that's like, it's funny that you bring that up. I think I had Ian Matthew on recently, and he had a moment like that too, where he was saying like, you can just do it. You know what I mean? Like that should be a good takeaway from this podcast. That's like, don't overthink it. Like if you're trying to shoot a video, get a camera and go shoot it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It can be that easy.
It can be that easy. But we we get caught up in it being like so polished. And it's like just trusting that our gift is enough. And we will get to the space where we have time to polish things the way we want to. But it doesn't have to be every single moment. Let the moments like find you, those ones.
Yeah. And the thing about things being so polished, sometimes that's not what's best for the record too.
That is so true. I noticed that like people, especially with this like TikTok Reels era, like people like that raw form of content. Like people appreciate it. And then they appreciate the high quality stuff more when it comes because it's like, oh, look what they did from this. But like being able to be relatable and have things that are accessible, I think is just as important.
You nailed it right on the head, in my opinion, with the relatable. I'm a video guy for over a decade.
Right.
I'm shooting all my 50 States things on my iPhone because it has that look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, the thing is, with me shooting it on the iPhone, it kind of shows people that like, oh, I could do this too. I literally have my phone. I can do this.
Yeah, you
know
can
what I
do
mean?
it too.
Where it's like, it's not super polished. That's kind of going back to that too, where it's like, sometimes raw and like just getting started is the way to go. Like it doesn't need this perfect pop, shiny gloss, everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what would you say to artists that are just trying to get started right now?
I would say you are capable of more than you think. We have access to so much now. So again, get the bare bones of what you need so that you can consistently create and share.
Yeah. And I know that you also had a song of yours sampled.
I did. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was from Voisey too.
Amazing.
That was a Voisey song.
So can we talk about the process of how that happened?
Yeah. I mean, that was so random. Like I didn't know it was happening. But it was another song that was like 2020, 2021. and what it just dropped 2023. So the producer hit me up when he was working with Hitmaker. And he was like, yo, he's like, we want to sample your voice. Just want to like make sure it's cool with you. We're going to send it for some big placements. I was like, yeah, cool. Go ahead. Thinking nothing of it. You know, it's work I had already done. And then a couple years later, they're like, hey, the song's coming out. And I was like, okay.
Who ended up getting on the song?
What was his name? He was an artist I didn't know.
The sample sounded insane. I heard it like today as I was like going through my research and stuff too.
Neek Bucks, that's his name. A hip hop artist who I hadn't heard of, but he was fire. And yeah, I was just like this little thing that I made in probably 15 minutes, sitting in my room, recording on my like iPhone headphones, is now on a Hitmaker record.
Yeah, and you know, to me, the whole music game, and you're kind of a testament to this, is not how many people are watching, it's who is watching.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because all it takes is one Kelly Rowland to, you know, change your whole perspective.
Yeah.
What's something that you learned from working with Kelly?
She said something about being in Destiny's Child and how she knew how to like play her role. Like she knew that Beyonce was being pushed as the star. And she's like, I'm not gonna like do that in that moment. She's like, I'm gonna know when I have to like sing support. She's like, I know when it's my moment to shine, and I know when it's my moment to support. And I think that's something I'm really good at, especially as someone who is an artist and a songwriter. I know how to support an artist when they need it, but I also know when it's my moment to step in front and shine.
I think that's really important. I don't think anyone said that on the podcast yet because knowing your moment is so important because, you know, like music, see, the whole life of an artist is like kind of a narcissistic thing in the whole place. But, you know, you got to give people their moments. Like, it doesn't have to be me all the time, you know?
It can't be.
That's what I'm saying. And I think a lot of people think that and they end up, you know, probably hurting relationships that they have and opportunities because when people see that, it's like such a turnoff. They're like, I don't want to work with this dude. Like, we're here to celebrate this person. Why is this person making it about them, you know?
Yes. And I'm so happy you said celebrate because that's something like I really aim to do. I like celebrating other artists. It makes me happy. And like you said, the people who are narcissistic and egotistical, I see how things kind of like stop short for them because, yeah, like they'll like cut off relationships. I know now, like, you know, Indie Hour.
I was just about to bring it up. That was you.
I'll let
you
bring it up. I'm sorry. You know what?
That was my transition because I connected with you originally because you were celebrating other artists, you know? And so for those that don't know, and I'm going to have you explain it more, you know, Briana has a live stream where she'll play other people's music. I think it's almost like you kind of will give your notes and stuff, but it's more like a celebration, just a vibe. Like I don't see you hypercritical saying that you do or don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's obvious when you do like something and you won't say, I've never heard you talk bad about a record. You know what I mean? So it doesn't feel like a critique in that sense where it's like very positive. It's very uplifting, you know, and you've built a community too that's very, I was there every week. You know that's what I'm saying. Like
loyal.
Yeah. And they're like, so can you explain the stream to people and, you know, what inspired you to do that in the first place?
Yeah. So Indie Hour, like you said, it started off as an Instagram live show dedicated to celebrating the work of independent artists. And like you said, it wasn't really meant for us to be super harsh or critical, but to build community, resources among other creatives. And, you know, I think we get criticized enough.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's nice to just, like, get together and, like, celebrate that we are working and we all have this, like, common dream and goal.
Yeah, it was very uplifting.
Yeah, and that's all I wanted. And it started very organically. I used to just go on Instagram Live and kind of just talk shit. Like, I really wasn't doing anything. I'd sing songs and I would just check in. But this artist from London was in my live one day And he was like, can you play my song? And he kept asking. And I was like, I don't know this person, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to play your song. I was like, send me your song. And then somebody else was like, can you play my song? And I was like, sure. And then I was like, maybe I'll do this again next week. And then we just did it consistently for over a year, every week.
And I feel like you gained a lot of relationships from that too. There's an argument to be made that this podcast wouldn't even be, because that's how I connected with you in the first place.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So like, I feel like you connected with so many people, and I think there's a valuable lesson in that where it's like you're doing for others. You know what I mean? It's a very selfless to go up there and be like, hey, I'm going to spend some of my time and, check out you guys, and like, we're going to do this together. And I don't know, I feel like there were so many artists that were just building up, up off each other too. And I feel like there probably were a few collaborations that probably came of it too.
Yeah. And that was when I was like, I have to keep doing this. When I started seeing those like roots being planted and people collaborating and producers meeting artists and artists meeting engineers, me meeting you. Even now, a lot of the music that I'm coming out with this year is with producers from Indie Hour.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, like we built this really cool community of creatives, and it's just nice to know that we can use each other.
Yeah. So one of the other people that were always in there was an artist named F Styles. And F Styles and I.
Yes.
Yeah. F Styles and I always, we didn't always. I did a music video for him legitimately like over a decade ago at this point. But, I hadn't heard from him for years. And then it's kind of like when you show up to an event and you're like, you're pointing at them, you're like, hey, how have you been? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I thought it was really cool. And I think what was cool to me too is it seemed like it expanded outside of Connecticut it started in London, but the fact that it was like, you know what I mean? And you'd have people in there every week.
Yeah. I feel like Connecticut wasn't even like my core group in there. Like I know we had you and Furious Styles.
But there's a lot of people from all over.
We had a lot of people from Detroit specifically, the UK. Everywhere. It was, I don't know how it happened, but I love that it did. I haven't done Indie Hour in a while, actually.
Yeah, trust me, I see. But you also got a lot of other things going on too.
Yeah, but I do want to get back to it because it was important. And it motivated me too to see people who were showing up with Furious Styles. He had new music every week. I was like, how are you doing this? I was like, man, I need to get it together.
Yeah, there's a lot of motivation that can happen just from, hearing other people's music and the consistency and all that. So the whole everything was uplifting.
Yeah,
I want to talk to you about when you had Saint on the radio for the first time.
Yeah.
How was that feeling?
That was a good feeling. Saint was a song I really fought for, I feel like.
How come?
I feel like a lot of things kept stopping me from putting it out. That song was recorded a year and a half before we actually did anything with it.
I know that feeling, yeah.
Yeah, and I almost gave up on it just because I just didn't want to fight for the record to be out. But so for it to be on the radio the day it drops and be celebrated so quickly, I didn't really have to fight for it or even ask for it. It just happened. I was like, okay, yes. It's just reaffirming that you need to be releasing your music. Don't let any drama or don't let petty things hold you back from sharing your gift.
Can I ask you what were some of the holdbacks with that song?
I was having a hard time finding an engineer to finish it.
The engineer is so important.
Engineer's so important, and I think I take a lot of pride in again the quality of my work. So it was just hard to find an engineer. I was going through a big personal transition and breakup, so just
a lot of factors went into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to let Tails down. I had a whole feature on this song, an incredible feature. And I was like, that's not fair to him. He worked hard on this. I need to make it happen. So he made it happen.
No, that's a beautiful thing too. And, so the song's been out for a little bit. Have there been any other opportunities that have come from the song?
Oh my God, yes. So I got to perform Saint on the news.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty... I feel like things just like come out of nowhere. But I got to perform that song on the news to promote my live show that I had in November. And that was the first song I ever performed of my own on the news. So that was cool.
That is exciting. So what's that moment look like? Did they reach out to you? Like, they saw it? Like, how did that happen?
They reached out to a manager I was working with. And they were like, hey, we want to promote your show. And he was like, sing Saint. And I was like, that's a great idea. And it was exciting. I love that song. I really, really love that song. Again, because it was like, we like pushed through and made it happen even when it was hard. Oh my gosh, getting cover art, everything was so hard for that. But
well, that's the thing. Sometimes, the songs are a process. I know that I've dealt with it before, and, I've gotten way better at just like letting things go. But there are some things you can't just let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when
like,
you want it to look or sound a certain way.
You got to see your vision through sometimes.
Yeah, and I had such a specific one because this song felt so elevated. And I had Tails. He's an incredible feature. I was like, I can't let this be dusty. It gotta be good. So yeah, we had to follow through on it.
So I know that you really got into music like at 25 because that's what you told me. Mm-hmm. But the first time you hit a stage was 2015, from my understanding.
2015? Oh, yes. That was the first time I hit a stage as a singer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yes. So I think, if people don't know, I started off in theater. So I was always performing as an actress. But again, singing was terrifying. 2015, that summer, my dad was performing at Walnut Hill Park in my hometown. And my family always goes out to it. And he invited me up on stage to sing a song. It was very impromptu. I was terrified, but I was like, you invited me in front of this massive audience and half of my family, so I can't say no. So I went up, I sang Irreplaceable by Beyonce. Classic. And it was just so good. My family was celebrating me so hard. And I was like, oh, I could do this. And I think, again, starting in theater, that made me brave enough to be able to get on stage in front of all those people and do it.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about your acting, because I know in 2020 you signed an acting contract.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I signed an acting contract at the top of 2020. Started it in March, and you know what happened March of 2020. So a week into the contract, the show was canceled.
Devastating.
And I was really excited about it because it was going to be my first time back in theater since starting music. But yeah, it didn't happen. But we got another contract.
Well, I was going to bring that up. And now, is that the Bushnell one?
No. So I didn't act at the Bushnell.
Okay. They had a digital stage, though.
They did.
So can you explain to me what a digital stage is? Because when you were rolling that out, all I saw was you on these really cool screens. It was the coolest thing. I was like, this is the coolest thing. I'll try to explain it for the people that are listening. It was like you were green screened, but you were in this digital world, but it was sick. I don't know how to explain. It was really well done. The execution on it was really well done.
Yeah, it was beyond what I thought it was going to be. So the digital stage is exactly what you're saying. This was through the lab creative space, actually. The Bushnell reached out to the lab to perform, and the lab got 3 artists in Connecticut. So it was me, Michael Manelli.
Oh, amazing.
And John the violinist.
Oh, amazing. All 3 of you guys are incredible.
I love
what
those
a good
two.
little trifecta right there.
Isn't it a good CT? It's it was a very well-rounded representation.
No, that's what I was thinking.
But yeah, so we all got to perform a sample of our own work with dancers in front of these green screens, and each of us got a different set. So my digital stage world was a video game because that's part of my brand. But yeah, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, I'm on the side of the Bushnell Theater. This is where I used to come and see plays as a kid. So to see me singing my own music there was a crazy full circle moment.
Yeah, and you also did, speaking of like video games and green screens, we got to talk about the music video.
For Feel It.
Yep.
Yeah. To this day, that's probably what I'm most proud of.
That video is insane.
Thank you.
The production value is insane.
Thank you. See, and that was a moment where I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all out. We're going to go all out for this. I don't care. I'm not settling. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did to know that I can get something at that level out into the world. As an independent artist with no big budget behind me, just a lot of incredible artists in Connecticut. But yeah, Feel It music video game based.
Yeah. What was one of the hardest things when putting that music video together?
Paying for it.
That's real. That's real.
Paying for it. I think the hardest thing, there were just so many artists involved, really. So coordinating so many busy creatives was challenging, but also the water moment at the end. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do. I was watching it earlier today, and the way they did your hair, the execution, I was like, damn, you're underwater.
Yeah, we used a leaf blower.
Incredible. It doesn't look like that. The way, like, because when I imagine a leaf blower, I imagine a little bit more violent. Like, but it was like flowing.
It was so beautiful.
Was it like far away? Like, how were they able to do?
So I sang it sped up so that we can slow it down.
Oh, there you go. Now it's making sense in my head. Yeah, because I was like, it's flowing too.
It was too pretty.
Blower is just like
no, in person, like my lashes were flying off my face.
Oh,
and I was
you need to post this.
I honestly should.
You need to be like the shot versus like shooting it versus the reality of the shot. It goes crazy.
Yo, honestly, I really should do that.
Because that's hilarious. And even just you describing what you just described to me is so funny.
Like, I know I have a video of Fabiana. She was the movement director. And she was just like on the ground, like underneath me with this leaf blower. And she wanted me to like balance on like one like tippy toe so that we can look like I'm floating.
Yeah.
On like this box.
I saw it because you're like descending from, the top of the ocean out to the ocean floor.
Yes. And so I have to look like I'm floating. So I'm trying to balance while she's blowing this leaf blower in my face while also having to sing my song mad fast. I was like, man, y'all.
That's a video I want to see so badly.
I'm going to pull those videos out. That's a good idea.
You definitely should. I'm trying to think of what else I want to talk about. I want to talk about maybe the struggle, like a little bit about the struggles of being an artist. Like, what's something that you deal with even right now that might be something that you're still trying to overcome? And, it doesn't have to be like that deep, but maybe just something that you're dealing with right now that you think is something you're working on to make Briana better.
I think the thing that I've struggled with most was finding like creative flow. Like, I just felt like I could never be consistent in the way I wanted to because I could never get somebody to consistently mix my music, someone to consistently produce for me, someone to consistently do all the things I need. You know how it is.
And having those people, as part of your team is so crucial.
Yeah. So I think I struggled with creative flow because I didn't have a creative community that could be consistent with me or in the way that I needed. Now I feel like I'm transitioning out of that space and into, I finally am like, okay, I can do this on my own. I have 2 engineers that I can work with. I'm opening my mind to know that I can work with more than one producer. Like, I don't have to limit myself. So yeah, I think I need to just trust in other community.
And I think people underestimate how much work goes into being an artist.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Like, it's so much more than just the final product that they see. What's your process for, making a song and taking it from start to finish, like kind of bringing it to the end zone?
Start to finish, writing the song is the easy part, is what I'll say. Writing the song, getting it recorded, that's the easiest part. That's the fun part. And then getting it mixed. Once I have a pretty solid mix to send out to other people, I start to look for cover art ideas. I'll usually make a Pinterest board to send out to photographers or artists. Yeah. Book the people I need to book, get the money I need to pay for those people, upload it. I try to upload songs at least a month before. Artists, at least a month before. It's hard, but
it is hard. More recently for me, it's become an impossible task that I've just given up on, and just, you guys get this when you get this, and that's just what it is. That's not advice you should live by and work by. You should get it in a month before, like Brianna's saying.
It's hard.
Yeah, don't do what I do. It's so bad.
It's hard. It's like it's mostly 2 weeks before, but I'm aiming for a month before.
Yeah, at least, I mean, my minimum really should be 12 days. But for example, I have a song coming out March 8th. 10 days away.
10 days, I was like, that's soon.
Yeah, it's not even uploaded yet. So I'm just, don't listen to me on this. This is terrible advice. Don't do what I'm saying, but do it like 2 weeks before, because this way you at least have a shot of landing playlists.
A playlist, yeah.
I've just given up hope completely. It just
not giving up hope.
Yeah. Well, speaking of giving up hope, has there been a time that you've ever felt discouraged?
Yeah. Actually, right before the Feel It music video. And I think that's why I poured so crazy into that. The summer of 2022, I believe it was summer 2022, yeah. It was the first time in my creative career that I had ever felt like giving up.
What stopped you from giving up?
That feeling that I know I'm supposed to do this. Even though it was hard. I think the thing that like made me so sad that summer was I was like, man, people in the industry can be really icky and like cruel.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. And I was dealing with a lot of people just like taking advantage of my gift or like stealing from me. Like a lot of like stupid stuff. And I was like, man, like I do so much to like make sure I'm like very graceful and intentional in what I do. I really don't give people a reason to say anything bad about me.
Yeah.
So even though I'm doing that, for people to still kind of like spit in my face, I was like, do I want to be in this industry where people are willing to do that?
It's tough. And, you know, you saying that kind of struck a chord with me, because there was a point where in my life I dealt with the same thing where, you know, I put a lot of time into other people just to, you know, this actually happened. It's funny. It's happened multiple times in my career where I've put time into another person just to be let down incredibly by that person. But what I'll say about that, it's hurt a little bit less each time, you know? And you just kind of learn from it too. And what's something that you learned from, you know, the experience that you dealt with?
I don't hold people's shortcomings against them. I think I've just learned to be more aware or just like to see it sooner.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just learning also to always choose myself. And that's not selfish. I think I was like, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be selfish. I really like...
It's protecting yourself almost.
Yeah. But it's like, no, like it's okay to like choose yourself. If somebody says they can't do something, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's also okay to be like, thank you. I'll move forward. If someone treats you unkindly, it's okay to say, thank you. I won't work with you.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to have those conversations sometimes. But I know with the relationships that I've had, like, you know, I really try to be sympathetic where I'm like, you know, this person could be going through a lot and there's probably a lot of reasons they're making the choices they're making and being mean. But I will say, Brianna, there is a small part of me that when I'm in my personal house and I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And I think it's okay to like be that, but it's like, I guess it really depends on the level of
the cut.
Yeah, the cut, because it's like, there's certain things where, you know, if they're not able to do it like you're saying, and it's like, that's okay. But if they're doing plays to the point where it really screws you over, it's like, damn, dude, you could have given me little heads up.
Yeah, right. You could have given me a heads up. I think another thing I've learned is I can't expect. See, I'm already like, I don't want to sound harsh. No.
The music industry is harsh.
It's harsh.
Tell them. Let them know.
You can't expect people who are not willing to do the work for themselves or their own career to do anything for you.
That's a mic drop. If we were allowed to drop these mics, yeah.
You know, it's like, it's unrealistic to expect.
And if they're
that.
not doing it for themselves, like, because you got to understand, too, that if they can't even do it from themselves, like, they're already not as invested in you as they are themselves in theory, right? So it's like, if they can't do that from them, you know what I'm saying? I'm just reiterating what you said, but it's true. You know what I mean? Like, it's true, you know? And I think that kind of goes to the people around you. You want to be surrounded by motivated, like-minded people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel really good about the community that is forming around me now. And it's happening organically. A lot, like I said, a lot of it is happening through Indie Hour, which is a space that, like, I created to be genuine. You know what I mean? I know the people who are working hard in that space as well. So I feel really positive about what's next.
Yeah. And what's some advice that you give about carrying yourself in the industry? Like, how do you carry yourself? Because some people just don't know how to act.
Some people just don't know how to act. I think it's important to always be sympathetic, but have boundaries. I think, and you probably struggled with this too, just hearing you talk. I've always been really sympathetic with no boundaries. But again, within this industry, people will walk all over that.
You got to have the backbone.
Got to have the backbone. And it's okay to be direct. And you can be direct and still be kind.
Yeah, the polite no is a skill that you need to know.
Yeah. Don't have to say yes to everything. Yeah. And it's just like, know your worth.
That's really important too, yeah, because, you know, it's kind of not a full tricky thing, but I want to bring this up because knowing your worth is important. Like, you obviously, you know, don't want to get stepped on, but also in the same token, you also don't want to miss out on an opportunity if your ego gets in the way. You know what I mean? And I've seen people do that too on the same. I'm like, dog, like, you just fumbled. Like, granted, you might not have got paid for that one opportunity that you got, but like, you got to look at the big picture on that one. Yes. It's like, what do you have to say about like looking at the big picture, you know?
Ooh, I mean, through this podcast, you've heard me talk about things always taking at least a year. All the big things. It's always like a year, 2 years, like the thing will happen. So seeing the big picture requires a lot of patience. It also, yes, there are opportunities that might feel like they're not worth it in the moment. Or like, man, like I'm not getting paid enough for this right now. But think about the song in a few years. Think about if a big artist takes a song in a few years. It takes
is one, too.
It takes one.
Your whole game has changed once. So that's like, you just got to keep going. And it's like being an artist also is just irrationally believing in yourself. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, this got to work because this is all I got.
It's all I got.
Yeah.
And I think being kind to people, just going back to what we were talking about before, like big picture, don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
Don't burn bridges being all in your feelings or in your ego, because I've seen that happen too. I can name
a decade that they all rattled through my head. You guys know who you are.
Like, I'm just like, man, like I feel incredibly blessed to have a community because I think we're people who are like working to be kind in this field. But
I have a rule. I have a bunch of rules that I set for myself. I'll tell you one of the rules. Don't die a dickhead.
Don't die a dickhead is crazy.
Yeah, that's like, because the thing is like, if let's say, God forbid, you know, my time came sooner than later, I don't want to be like, people be like, damn, that dude sucked. You know what I mean? Like, the thing is like, you obviously want to respect someone who passes away, but if you were a dickhead while you're here, like, it's not going to be like, damn, Mike was the man. You know what I mean? So you want to, like, I don't know. And it is a crazy thought because, like, in theory, if you're dead at that point, it doesn't matter. But But it does, because I think your legacy impacts the people around you too. And it just, life is better if you're a kind person.
Life is better if you're a kind person, period.
Yeah. I got a tear coming down my face. It wasn't even that emotional of a talk.
Sentimental.
Yeah. It's sentimental, guys.
But yeah, being kind.
And someone needs to hear that. So if you're listening, don't be a dickhead. And if you think it might be you, there's a solid chance that it could be. So just, take that however you're going to take that.
That's the thesis statement of this episode.
Yeah, it's a life mantra for me. I'm going to pull it back to your acting, though, because I want to talk about A Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Let's talk about it. I don't know if you are familiar with that play.
I'm familiar by name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those, like, big, like, for me, it's like Annie, A Streetcar Named Desire. Like, there's a couple that, like, you just got to know.
Yeah, it's one of, like, the biggest plays in American theater history.
Yeah.
And so one of my homies is now the artistic director at the Red House Arts Center. That's where I did the show. And he hit me up in last winter, really. And he was just like, hey, what would it take to get you to do theater again? And I was like, it has to be a role that's like a dream of mine or something that is really going to challenge me. He brought up A Streetcar Named Desire. He was like, would you do that show? That show is mostly cast like with white women. And I was like, yeah, like I never saw myself in that show, but yeah, I'd do it. He's like, who would you want to play? And I said Stella, who is one of the leads, but the less complex character, I'll say.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was thinking Blanche. And I was like, well, that scares me. So yeah, I should do it. I did it this past October. It was the hardest work I've ever done in my life, which if anybody knows me, I'm a hard worker. So saying that says a lot. It was scary. It was like painful. She goes through a lot in that show. It was challenging just to remember all of those lines. But I'm so happy I finished the year with it because I feel like it reminded me to be brave. It was a part of me that I feel like I lost somewhere in this journey, like being brave. And I was like, I used to be so brave. I remember talking to my director about it. He's like, what's going on? I was like, I feel like I'm not like the brave 23-year-old Briana who did theater, who like didn't care and made big choices and was bold. And he's like, well, let's find her. And I found her. And now I feel really rooted in myself. I feel really good.
Which is an amazing thing, too. And to me, that kind of proves to a point that sometimes the best things in life are outside of the comfort zone.
Almost always. Yeah. Almost always outside the comfort zone.
What were some of your big fears going into that?
Just the demands of the role, one. I think technically and logistically, like I said, the lines were a lot. Like, she speaks for like 150 pages.
That's crazy, yeah.
And she doesn't just speak in like little lines. She speaks in chunks. So that, and then I think she's a character who like spirals into madness throughout the show. So you
had to embody that. And it's more than just the shows. I mean, you're rehearsing for how long?
Yeah, it was a 3-week rehearsal process and then 1 week of shows. So it was very fast. But I was exhausted. I was exhausted having to go through her journey every night. I was alone. I was in Syracuse, New York. And at the end of these rehearsals, these hard rehearsals, I would go back into a hotel room and just like be by myself. And I was like, well, this is like really hard to like sit with by myself.
Was there anything you did to help out with that?
I took a lot of baths. I worked out. I just made sure to be very intentional in my self-care routine at that time.
Yeah, no, that's good. What's something crazy that's happened, on set? Has there been like something that was just
on stage?
On stage, on set, like, or anything that like, whether it was known by the audience or not?
There were a few things. In rehearsal one night, I actually slipped and fell.
Oh no!
Like banged my head, bruised my elbow, had to go to the emergency room.
Oh no!
So that was terrible. It sucked. Something that happened on stage. There was a scene where this was the full audience, sold out house. There's a scene where I have to ask the man I'm talking to for a cigarette, and we like have a lot of dialogue around this cigarette, and he didn't have it. He didn't have the prop. And I'm like, do you have a cig? And he said, no. And I was like,
okay, cool.
okay, here we go. This is where years of theater training sits in because the show has to continue. And I'm like, how do I find my way through this moment while getting to the next moment without making them know like something's wrong? So yeah.
What did you do?
I don't remember what I said, but I just carried on. I like skipped ahead in my brain. But it's like so much is happening in your head at one time. Because there's like blocking with this cigarette. There's like so much. I don't remember what I did, but we got through it.
Yeah.
And he apologized after, thank God. Because I was like, don't do that to me ever again. You know I got enough to deal with in this show. I need you to remember your cigarette, please.
Yeah. So when you finished like, you know, the final night of the final show, how was everybody feeling on set?
I think a lot of people were really, like, I remember people were sad that it was ending, and I remember being relieved. I was sad, but it was just so hard, and I was so tired. You know, we would do like, Thursday, Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 1 Sunday, 5 shows in a weekend. I was exhausted, and this was a long show. It was like 3 hours. You know, I'm tired, so I was relieved, but people were really sad. It was monumental. It was like cool. Cool's not even a good enough word. It was just really nice to see Black women playing these iconic roles.
Yeah.
And I know it affected a lot of people.
I also imagine the end of it kind of like being like summer camp ending. Is that like kind of a good comparison?
That's a great comparison. I feel like theater is like summer camp in a weird way.
Yeah.
You meet these people, you're like up their ass for 4 to 8 weeks at a time, and then you say goodbye and you may never see them again.
Yeah.
But they're like all you have in that time.
It sounds a lot to me like touring too, like where that's like the Venn diagram comparison.
Yeah, exactly. I've never toured yet. I want to tour.
It's fun, but it's exactly as you're describing this experience, I'm like, oh, this sounds exactly like tour.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's some advice that you got in your career that's really stuck with you, and you know, something that you were told by somebody that has changed your game?
One of my voice and speech professors in college used to always tell us to fail gloriously. And I say that all the time. I'm like, well, if you're going to fail, at least fail doing something like epic. Like make it big. And usually it's not going to fail if you're like committing to it. But fail gloriously. Karen Riker told me that. And then Marie Percy, another professor, my movement professor, said approach everything with a sense of ease, and it will be easy. So it's easy to like be like, this is so hard. But if you just like breathe through it, and it's like, I have to do this, and you like think easy, you can make it feel a little easier.
Yeah, some things are also just out of your control sometimes. So you just gotta, you know, it's like, all right, this is what this is.
Release it. Yeah.
So what's next for Briana Maia?
What's next? This is the first year where I feel like I can release music and I'm like in full control. So I'll just say I'm releasing a lot of music and a lot of games this year.
I'm excited to see. I don't know what you mean by games, but I just want to see it happen.
Yes. You're going to love it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
If people want to tap in with you, how could they?
People can tap in with me on Instagram at Briana Maia Official.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, Briana, I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I'm so happy I came. This is our first time like really sitting down with each other in person.
I've learned through the podcast, it's not just you, it's like everybody. I'm like, dog, we're friends, but the thing too about the pod, I learned so much more about my friends. You know what I mean? Which is really cool. And it's like, I'm almost just like, oh, they did this, they did that, they did this. It's cool. And I don't know, it's just been exciting on that. But yeah, I learned a lot about you, like even from this today too.
Yeah, I want to do a podcast. I want to interview you next time.
I'm down. I do one at the end of every year. So my last podcast of every year is like me. So it's a flip-flop episode. You want to do the one for the end of this year?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, it's you. You asked first.
Come on, I'm going to be a host.
Yeah, so it's the New Year's one.
Oh,
It'll be a great time too, because in theory, I should be done with the 50 States project.
Oh, yeah. It's about to be lit.
Yeah, I'm hoping. But fingers crossed. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I want to share with you guys my thought of the day. And my thought of the day is this. It's so important to be a kind person. I know there's a lot of instances in life that can jade you, but you just got to let them go sometimes for your own well-being. There are some shady people in all businesses, not just music. And don't let them change who you are as a person. Holding on to that negative energy does nothing for anybody. And most of the time, it only affects you. So let it go and be positive. And remember, you got to believe before the world does.